one item on the, pardon? We have one item on the public, the agenda, 76 Fair Street, which is a request for an area variance to provide side yard setback relief as submitted. And as I talked to you about Jackson, excuse me, earlier today, we probably want to address the tree removal issue and just kind of wrap them up, make sure that that gets updated. Okay, so you sent some additional information. Thank you. I think that we still need, that's definitely helpful, but I think that we need a little bit more specific detail. Seems to me there's we have to kind of address each little section as it expands from existing or expands into new footprint. So the little piece right behind the main house, which is just a vertical expansion of some degree, we need to know what the existing is, so what the expansion is, because the variance is only required for the expansion.
Right. There is the whole back. There is an L that goes all the way back right now.
Is it the same height as what's proposed?
Yes. So we're basically just cutting that off. Although that may change to a shed.
Okay.
Because there's not enough room for closets. That second floor existing is, I think the ceiling height is 6'8".
Oh, really?
Totally non-compliant. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's not totally figured out yet, but it won't be any higher than what's there now.
Okay. Are you in a rush to get this reviewed, or can we wait till you have it more refined so we know more specifically?
He wants to get going on this as soon as he can. He's got his brother out in Fly Creek or somewhere that's going to be doing the construction work with him. Dave does. So he's not waiting on a contractor like a lot of people are.
Yeah. So I don't have it in front of me because the screen opened up, but I thought that the little piece behind the main section was not as tall as the front section, the existing piece.
He told me that it was, and my photos from the back from 7 years ago, I guess. It's hard to see because that backyard goes down so far. But Dave told me that ridge height was at the same as the front ridge. So I'm kind of going by what he said.
And the eave height is the same too, you think?
Yeah, excuse, can you hear me?
Oh, there's Dave.
Yes,
Dave.
we can hear you.
Hi, everybody. This is Dave Heinenberg. Teresa, good evening. The back of the house, where it says 1 story, the kitchen is basically a shed roof now. So the front section of the house, I always say the house is built in 3 sections: the 1840 section, the 1880 section, and then the kitchen and garage were done sometime probably in the early 1900s. So the garage and the kitchen both have shed roofs on them. There is no second story. In the middle of the house does have the pitched roof over it. That does have a second floor, but like you said, it's a very low height. Actually, the 1840 part of the house, the original part of the house, to get through the 2-bedroom doors, it's 6 feet 2 inches. And the actual height of the ceiling is 6 feet 4 inches. So if you're a tall person, you're going to bump your head, but it is what it is. That's how it's built. So I'm not looking to change that at all. But to answer your question, the back section of the house where the kitchen was only 1 story. Okay,
but there are different heights for 1 story, and what's being proposed is a higher height, or it's a different configuration. So we have to address kind of the change from the existing to whatever you're proposing, anywhere that it's within a setback.
But Dave, there's that bedroom over the kitchen, right?
Right now, there's no bedroom over the kitchen. It's only over the middle part of the house.
Okay, I'm sorry. It's the middle part of the house. Yes. Okay. Right. But that's the part we're talking about right now. The part where we're going to have the bathroom upstairs and the 2 closets for those existing bedrooms. So we're only going out about 6 feet beyond the back of the existing original block of the house. And that portion right now is a 2-story because there's a big bedroom that goes back there.
So you're not changing anything about the maximum height of any part of that section?
I don't believe so. Is that right, Dave?
Because you're very limited in height on that front section, it might have to get bumped up a couple feet, only because I wouldn't be able to put a shower in there and make it work. I mean, it wouldn't be compliant, I know that. But if I kept the same peak of the front section of the house, it's going to be very limiting to put a bathroom and 2 closets in there. Because neither one of those bedrooms in the front have a closet, and there was never a bathroom upstairs. And I'm just, if I'm going to go to the expense of rehabbing this house, I'm just trying to, put a bathroom up there for the 2, whoever stays in either one of those 2 bedrooms. We have a daughter who would come visit us, that she's going to need a place to stay. And if the only other bathroom for her to use is, I should go all the way down the stairs and into the middle or back of the house, it's going to be quite an inconvenience.
Mhm. So Dave, are you saying that the ridge or the roof in that 6-foot expansion will in any place be higher than the existing roof?
I'm thinking it's going to
It's
have
there
to
now?
be, I'm thinking it's going to have to be 1 foot to 2 feet higher. I'll make it minimal, but if I keep it the same height as the ridge in the front, I'd have to soften the pitch from what
Yeah.
is there now to be allowed to have some headroom in there.
Yeah.
So it
I
wouldn't be a
don't,
flat roof up there, but it would
we're
definitely.
not going to
would
have to
the
go,
pitch.
Dave, we're not going to have to go higher because don't forget those bedrooms up there do have, the ceiling flattens out. So it's going up like
Right.
this, but then it flattens out at 6'4". But we can go all the way up because we're going right to the middle
Right,
with that bathroom. So you don't want to go up higher than that ridge because that's going to be visible from the street and that's going to look stupid.
okay, and I
So
agree
I
with
don't
that.
think we're gonna
I
have to
no
do
problem with
that.
So as long as I don't have to keep that same pitch of the roof line that's there now, then I can make that work.
You don't have to match the
Yes.
pitch, but I thought, let me look back at the photos.
Yeah,
I can
that's
share
probably,
screen on anything you'd like me to, Susan, so we can all look at the same thing. And
Sure,
David,
look-
just so
look
you
at the
know, we're not necessarily disputing anything about the design here, but in that it has to go for a public hearing and since it's a request for a variance, we need to have all of those details so that the public can review them and we can review them as well, so we can document what the change is.
Right, we need to give numbers for specific spots on the property, what the variances are.
Mhm.
And this has kind of, because it's replacing several different pieces of existing, there's kind of different segments of what need different kinds of variances, different amounts of variances.
right.
All right, so Jackson, if you don't mind putting up that there was one of the first photos that you sent on the email. It's like a group of 4 photos that shows all different sides.
The actual photographs of the property itself.
Yeah. Yep.
Mhm.
Let me get to it. Can everybody see that all right?
Right, thank you.
Yes.
So if you want to go to the bottom left one, right? See that eave in that section that's kind of dotted there is lower than the oldest section of the house. So if it's that configuration on the opposite side, then there's some variance for that little 6-foot segment, is my point.
Right, okay.
So looking at the site plan, it looked to me like there are like 4 different variance conditions that this specific layout would require. One is, okay. You can't see my cursor, right? Just yours.
Yeah, we
Right.
can.
Oh, you can? Okay, so one is this
Yeah.
section.
No, it's just my cursor. You can tell me
Okay.
where to put it though.
Oh,
So that two-story construction section, the hatch part that is also within the setback.
mhm.
And then in that next section, which goes to the back wall of the original house, right behind the two-story section,
Mhm.
everything that's hatched that's within the setback. We need to know what the existing.
Well, that part, the part there where you've got your cursor, that's where the existing kitchen is now. So we're actually not, we're still just doing a 1-story there, right, Dave?
That's correct.
So that wouldn't be an increase. It's to the left of there, to the left of that greenish or brown line. Yeah, so this whole area back here, actually, you don't, Jackson, you don't have that drawing I just sent because I did put that last dimension on there.
I do have it. I will
Okay,
have to get to it though.
okay. That was the only thing I changed on the drawing. I think it was 7'6" or something. Yep, there it is.
So because the roofs are changing, it used to pitch to the back and now it's higher and it pitches towards the neighbor on the south. I think there actually is still a variance even in that 1-story section, right behind the proposed 2-story section. I feel like everything on the south side requires some degree of variance. But we don't know what the existing heights are to know what the degree of variance is.
So what do you need on the drawing? Do you need us to put like what the existing heights are and then what the new heights are going to be?
Correct.
So if it's a foot
Yes.
higher at the edge and then it goes up to 6 inches higher in the middle because it's a very shallow shed.
Right, up to the point where you hit
Okay.
that 10-foot setback, exactly.
Okay.
And then the new expansion, obviously, all the dimensions, or, any of the kind of heights, I don't know, I didn't really see where they were.
Okay.
There are ceiling heights, but they're not really heights of eaves or heights of top of roof, that kind of thing.
Okay. Can I ask you a question? I know you have to send out notices. I guess you still do that for the adjacent neighbors.
Yep.
If we get you all of this before those notices go out, can you still schedule a public hearing for next month?
I would say if you get it within a week from
Okay.
now.
Yeah.
then it usually doesn't get to that detail on the notices. It'll just refer to different variances.
Right.
But I know the adjacent neighbor wants to understand this. We
Mhm.
want to understand this. So, and it really should have been provided for this meeting. So in order for us to proceed on a kind of speedy, expedited basis, I think a week would be a reasonable kind of length of time to get that.
Okay, because obviously we want to submit this for HPARB's meeting
Right.
next week, so it'll need to be resolved by then.
Okay. And I was, if you can show natural grade, obviously, I don't know whether this is a natural grade that's shown here, but we need to kind of relate to that with our variances, especially because you're so close to the property line, you really have to address natural grade.
Okay.
I had a couple of questions. This is so tight to the property line, and certainly once you get past the existing kitchen addition, I would see if you can't reduce the amount of variance that you're requesting, because this is a very long structure that's extremely tight to the property line. In fact, I don't even know how you're going to put your windows in because you don't have the fire setback that you need to have windows. I think you have to be at least 3 feet to get windows in, don't you?
I don't know that there's a fire separation requirement from a property line without there being an existing structure there, but that's a little bit out of my purview to comment on.
I always understood there was that, you get some relief if it's sprinklered, but I'm not sure whether 3 feet you can put any windows in at all.
Mhm. All right, I'll check on that.
Okay. So given that this is so long and so close to the property line, I would recommend you try to reduce the amount of variance that you need if you can at all. And then on the north side where the garage is, the same questions about what's the height of the existing garage and what's the expansion. It's significantly smaller, obviously, but
talking the north elevation.
right, where the cursor's circling right now.
Okay,
It's just a one-story garage now, but it's gonna have a second floor on it.
And that shed has already been removed, which
Right,
I would caution against. I understand it may have been in really poor condition, but
it needs HPAR approval,
it needs HPARB for removing anything.
right. So Teresa, do you understand the four conditions that at least make sense to me? The two-story, the next section higher than the existing, and then the brand new,
Mhm.
and the extra over the garage.
If I just put the vertical dimensions on the elevations, would that be sufficient? Like the high and low spots of each
Absolutely. I mean, if
shed
you,
or gable?
yeah, and I mean, on the, exactly. And I don't, if you end up with sections or something like that, you show existing, show new, and, so we can
Yeah.
just understand the differential.
Yep.
Yeah, but it's easier to put on the elevations.
Right.
All right.
Okay.
I don't, Jackson, you should share the neighbors' questions. Because they're relevant to the variance, I would say, particularly the installation of the new foundation is, again, so close to the property line that would have an impact on the neighbor. Or, like would likely extend beyond the property line in terms of disruption. So
Right.
I don't know if you have a sense of what the odds are that you can use it. I presume it's an existing old stone foundation or something.
On the south line?
Yeah,
Yeah. Dave, do you know what that is?
It's, like I said, from the 1880s. It's a rock wall.
Rock. Yeah.
There's barely 6 feet clearance in there. I'm looking at it like, if I'm gonna be taking down the middle and back section of the house, and structurally, it's very unsafe, believe it or not. It's not just a cosmetic thing I'm looking to do. So in order to rebuild it, do I rebuild it on top of a rock wall foundation? Or because I'm basically gonna have a blank palette, is now the time to basically change it from a rock wall foundation to a cement foundation where it's gonna be sturdier for many years down the road? That I'm not saying the rock wall foundation is crumbling, because that actually, it seems to be sturdy, but everything above it is problematic. All the wood structure above it was very poorly constructed. So like I said, if I had to work with this stone rock wall for a foundation, I would not be happy about it. I would like to try to put a cement foundation on it. I do have about 3 feet between that foundation wall and the property line, and I will hand dig there, and I'll do my very best to not intrude onto the neighbor's property.
I don't think you have
Like-
3. I don't think you have 3 feet. It looks like you have less than 2 feet.
The further back you go, the more distance you have between
I
the
know.
existing house and the property line. In the front of the house, it's only about 18 inches.
Right.
As you get towards the back of the house, it gets to 3 feet and then even farther than that.
So there's some survey information that Jackson sent, or is it possible to get survey dimensions for that taper? Because I would say it's less than a foot at the front of the house. And it can't, and that, at the very far back of this new addition, I forget what the dimensions are, maybe it's 3'6" or something, but it looks like it starts out at, maybe 10 inches or a foot or something like that at the very front corner of the house. So I appreciate the fact that a new foundation wall would be a better investment, but I don't know how you're going to do it quite so tight without, some agreement with the neighbor, because you just can't build it in that shallow of a space. And I see a little bit of fencing there. I don't know if there's trees, or I don't know what other kind of things there are down between the two houses.
Is that your fence, Dave?
No, it's not. That's the neighbor's fence.
Okay.
It looks to me like it's right on the property line.
Right.
Yes.
So are you imagining you're just going to basically take everything off except for this front old piece and build all new? Or is this somehow salvaging some of that existing construction?
It's so poorly built, I don't see any way I can salvage. The only thing I could possibly salvage was the garage, but because I'm actually looking to put the quote master bedroom above the garage,
Mhm.
and actually to try to help out any interference or any, the neighbor at 78 Fair Street, I'm trying to, when this construction happens, be as, not as intrusive to their property as I can. So originally I was going to put the third bedroom above the kitchen, which would require a second story. And that's why, talking to Teresa, said, let's put the bedroom over the garage. Therefore, although the house itself does go back quite a bit, especially with the porch in the back, there's no second floor over there. So it shouldn't seem as overpowering as it could be if I were to take the existing structure and put the bedroom right over the kitchen. So that's my intention. So I'm looking to, work with the neighbor the best I can
Mhm.
to, let her enjoy her property without it seeming like her next door neighbor's overpowering, her back deck, and she has a porch also.
Okay. But I would say if it is new construction, then for all kinds of reasons, fire, new foundation, drainage, all kinds of things, if you need to pull it a little further away from the property line, at least you're not, constricted by the existing construction. Does anyone else have any questions or any other information they don't understand or think is missing?
I don't have any questions at this time. We're going to be looking at this again, right?
Right, so if we can get the information that we need in the week, then there'll be a public hearing at the next meeting. It'll be advertised.
That be in-person public meeting? You don't know.
What's happening at the village now with the other groups, Jackson?
All of the boards are still meeting via Zoom, and I do believe that the governor's order allowing that is still in place. The trustees have been meeting in person throughout, so it is up to I think that each board can make its own decision about how it feels about things.
Okay. So assuming that we'll still be meeting by Zoom in a month, and I did talk to Jackson this morning about, if the adjacent neighbor wants to also, and also David certainly can see his face, other people can be added to the Zoom call as long as there's some kind of planning ahead, and certainly we'll always accept any kind of written commentary from the public. It is unfortunately not as, easy for the public to provide comment and interact in a Zoom format. But we'll be as flexible as we can to mitigate that. All right, so in addition to these variances, then also there are a couple of trees that have been taken down that should have come before us before they were taken down. I believe, I can't remember specifically what it was, but I think that in the past we have at least once or more kind of retroactively reviewed those from a variance perspective, because had it come to us, we would have had to issue a variance for more than 30% of the trees to be removed. And often then we require, as a mitigative effort, to have new trees planted somewhere else on the property. So I think that we should go through that process also. My understanding is the two trees were next to the garage.
I think I had that wrong, Susan. I believe they were far back in the corner of the property. There's another shed back there. Is that correct, Dave?
That is correct, Jackson.
Okay.
Oh,
They're on, but they were between the shed and the neighboring property that is on Pioneer Street. So there's like a little, looks like a 5-foot area between the shed and the property line. And both the maple, there was a 20-inch ash tree and there was a 12-inch maple tree growing, and the stumps are still there. They're about 4 feet apart. And the ash tree was dead. And the reason I took it down is, and I apologize for taking it down without getting permission. But after I bought the house, there's actually holes in that roof of the shed where the branches from the ash tree that were dead were falling straight down and damaging going right through the asphalt shingles. So I'm gonna need to replace that roof from the spring. So I went to take the ash tree down, and I tried to take it down without affecting the maple, because it was a healthy tree, but one was entangled in the middle of the other one, so they both came down. So I talked to Jackson, and I said I'd be happy to replant a maple tree, somewhere's in that area to replace it. And there are only, just so you know, there's only 3 other trees on the property. They're small ornamental fruit trees in the backyard that my parents planted, about 20, 25 years ago.
Oh, I didn't realize there were other trees. That's good. Are they larger than 6 inches?
They're probably between 5 and 8 inches in diameter.
They're just barely there. Yep.
Okay,
Yeah.
so maybe it is. Maybe it only requires one variance for one of the trees, not for both of them. That's good. Okay. Yeah, the rule in the zoning law is over a 10-year period, you can't remove more than 30% of trees that are 6 inches or larger in diameter. So we just need to kind of address our variance to whatever extent that exceeded that requirement.
But if one of the trees was dead, does that one count?
I understand they're both healthy. Yeah, no, if it's
Oh.
dead, if it's dead or diseased, then they aren't subject to that restriction.
We can't verify that at this point, though.
Right, but I thought the owner said that they were both healthy. They were just, there were problems with them in terms of that.
No.
I thought you
One
said
ash tree is dead. The elm bark beetle, it girdled it, and basically that's why the branches were falling straight down into the shed.
Oh, I
I
didn't
wouldn't take it
understand
down.
that.
I didn't take it down for cosmetics. I took it down because it's a liability. Not only the shed getting damaged, but anybody walking nearby there could get hurt if a branch comes down, if you're mowing the lawn in that area.
Okay. All right, I guess it was the neighbor that said they were both healthy. I misunderstood. So it's just then the maple, that's the one thing we need to address. Okay. All right, well, good to know going forward, and we'll just add, since we're dealing with variances, we'll just add that to the list. Okay. So Teresa or David, do you have any other questions for us?
I think I'm straight.
Okay.
No,
Anybody?
I'm all set.
Okay, anyone on the board have any questions?
I guess just to be clear, Susan, would you like to see less of a variance requested on the south side of the property than what is currently presented?
I mean, I think you're requesting a pretty extreme variance because it's very, very long. And it's so incredibly tight to the property line. So any amount that you can reduce the amount of variance that you're asking for, I would encourage you to do so.
And then Teresa, if you can get that stuff to me and I can share it with the rest of the board. And I guess
I'm sorry, Jackson, do you need the HPAR application materials by this Thursday?
Thursday is the deadline for HPAR, yes.
Okay, so got 2 days to figure this out.
Yeah.
Okay,
All right,
So it
So we're,
conceivably could go through HPAR before having gone through the public hearing, but
Sure.
if things change through HPAR or through this process, then it's going to further complicate how it goes forward.
right. I mean, HPARB is not really likely to change the form. They would be,
Right.
I would think more likely if there's any questions at all, it would be material or, I don't know. I honestly don't think they will have an issue with it, but Teresa knows better than me about that.
I don't know who's on that board. I know Roger's not.
Oh, I thought he still was. I don't know.
No, I saw him on the street. He's very happy that he's not.
Okay.
it took him a long time.
Yeah. All right. Well, I mean, you're saving the old piece in the front, which
That's
is
what they wanted, yeah.
just the streetscape.
Yeah,
and-
Dave met with them before he bought the property, actually,
Okay.
and got that, direction from them, so.
Yeah. No, and I personally just said, I think it's the right move to have the two-story sections and then the connector be one story, because otherwise, I don't know how in the world you'd roof it. All right. Okay, we'll set that public hearing for 5 o'clock at our April meeting, which is going to be 5th, maybe. I'm not sure, whatever.
Isn't it the 4th? No, 2nd,
Second.
5th. It's April 5th.
Okay,
Okay,
Yeah,
All right.
April 5th.
okay. And so we'll have all those setback variances or whatever's requested. And I would say that if you may want to then go back and just kind of review the criteria sheet, if there's anything, since they're all kind of a little bit different, if you may want to
tweak.
tweak that some. I haven't really studied it that much, but. And then also address the trees. Or the tree.
I'm letting Dave handle that.
Okay,
So maybe Dave needs to go out and measure, is it at breast height that they have to be 6 inches in order to be considered part of the 30% calculation?
Correct.
Okay.
That's
And
correct.
it's 6
chest
inches,
height.
not a foot,
6 inches at chest height.
chest height, okay.
so if those other 3 trees are 6 inches, that certainly is very helpful.
Okay,
Well, if you've got 3 trees, Dave, that are 6 inches, then there's no variance needed because then you've only taken down 25%, right?
That's true.
Right.
that's correct.
Okay, go
Okay.
measure those trees.
Measure the trees, right? So maybe we don't have to deal with that. But document somehow,
Yeah,
Jackson, in the file that the ash tree was diseased or had the ash borers.
Yep. And there is an adjacent ash on the neighboring property that also has some severe bark flaking, et cetera. So I wouldn't doubt it if,
Okay,
Is there any evidence of the problem with the tree and the stump? Take a photograph, maybe?
I can dig in there and take a look. That's a good call, Randy. Everything's covered in ice right now. So
Sure.
okay. Good. All right, we'll move on then to our review of minutes.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everyone had a chance to look at the minutes?
I don't think we can, I didn't get them, or did I miss them? I don't know what I did, but I don't think we can go. Randy, am I remembering correctly? You were not able to come to the last meeting?
I was not.
Okay,
Yeah, we don't have a quorum for the minutes.
so we can't address that. Okay.
Sure.
Then, yeah,
Maureen?
they did come with Jackson's.
Okay,
Yeah, I have the minutes in front of me, but I can't act
just-
on them.
I resent them to you just now too, Marcy, but if we don't
Oh,
have,
okay.
it, then we'll have to get it next time.
oh, yeah, well, okay,
Yeah.
but at least I have it. I mean, I'm not saying you didn't send them, but I, might have hit the wrong button at the wrong time.
Okay, we'll review that at the next meeting then, and
Okay,
we'll have some of our other members back, so we aren't such a skeletal crew.
just throwing something out. Remember we had this problem a number of years ago, the other ginormous house, wasn't it on Fair Street?
Or side of this house, actually.
Yeah, it was the next door because Mr. Pannenberg, the elder,
Mhm.
he was very upset about that. And then the neighbor on the other side was very upset about that. And I remember, he had Mr. Pannenberg had many issues with it. But the woman that on the other side, one of the things she said was, yeah, the sun didn't come through her kitchen window anymore. So now they're going to put a second story up over this garage. Or is this deja vu all over again? This is going to be huge. Another behemoth on Fair Street.
It's a very different scale than the one you're remembering, Marcy.
Well, is it? It's hard for me to tell from the drawings. It's hard, it's hard for me to, in my mind, transfer the drawings to
Yeah.
reality. I will admit that.
Right,
But, I was thinking of, the second story on the garage is really what I was thinking.
right. If you look at the elevations, the old part of this house that's right up against the sidewalk doesn't have a full second floor. It's a short second floor and it has knee walls.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
the garage is kind of that scale. It doesn't,
Yeah.
it is 2 stories in most of the spaces, but they've done a lot in terms of the roof and stuff like that to try to bring the scale of it down. And in its most adjacent element of that house, that gigantic house up to the north, I'm pretty sure the garage is on the south side of that house. So it will, I think, be smaller in scale than the adjacent garage. And it certainly won't block any light from any problematic area, right?
Okay.
I haven't heard anything out of that. So that's 74. I haven't heard anything from them. And he's a doctor, so he might not even be in town right now. It's the other side that has been expressing concern because of how close those lot lines are.
Right.
And we can, it sounds like he's doing his best to be mindful there, but yeah, it's bigger than it was before. It will be.
Right. But the one in the north is, 2 full stories over a real big block of area.
Yeah.
The 2 floors on this Pinenberg property are the footprint of the 2-car garage and the old part that's against the sidewalk. Everything else is a 1-story section, connector section. So it doesn't have the kind of bulk and,
Mhm.
giganticness of the adjacent property. It's certainly going to be bigger than, the most gigantic looking part of this from the elevations is that south elevation, because it's very straight and long and, I don't know, 100 foot long or something crazy. Maybe not quite 100, but very long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the other elevation sheet. Yeah, the one on
I
the
mean-
bottom. This is the one that, the scale of that little piece by the street, and
Yeah.
Right.
like another 4 of those going back or 5 of those going back or something.
Yeah. I don't know. Is that not our bailiwick? If I were HPARB, might weigh in on that. I don't know.
Yeah, that'll be their job, and they will have a chance to, at least have a review and if not an approval of it before we have our meeting.
And it is, since it's so big, it's an enormous variance.
Really, HPARB needs to set a hearing for a demo permit first.
Yeah.
So I don't think this is something that's going to all of a sudden be happening.
Right. But
Right.
will they,
They can review the design while they issue the demo permit,
okay,
or while they set the hearing for the demo permit, but still it'll have to go back into April's meeting for public comment. I don't think that they're going to issue a demo permit here without a public
hearing.
but they did already give him like a preliminary, they voiced their priorities that the front part of the house be preserved. So,
And they're going to go through a public hearing process for I thought they only did demolition public hearings for whole building demolitions.
it's gone both ways. So sometimes if it's an attached garage, it doesn't. If it's a separate garage, it has, but those are even just for garages.
Yeah.
So okay. It'll be right now, the HPARB is Pat Yankee, Jesse Ravage, and Liz Callahan. So we need more.
They only have 3, they don't have a full membership?
Yep.
They don't have 5 members?
Nope.
Whatever, everyone quit or something?
Yep. Everybody moved
See,
on.
Roger quit.
Yep.
Wow,
You-
that's tough board. If that's only 3, it only takes, because all 3 have to vote in unison, or, like in whatever, not in unison. All have to vote to approve,
Right.
all 3.
I know that there's been a bit of a transition coming on from Jane, but I need to get some complete lists of who is on each board, because I think there's people on boards that I still haven't met. And and some contact info would be great. I don't know if everybody feels up to that or not, but
You want more info from any of us right here or any?
yeah, if you guys would be willing to send me your, well, I know Marcia has a list of who's on the boards, but I know sometimes when, Marcy, if you feel like you didn't receive something, it's easy for me to feel like, oh gosh, Randy, I think I've maybe seen you twice and it was months ago,
Mhm.
So
what, do you want just confirmation of our,
of who's
Email
on
or-
each board, and if everybody'd be comfortable giving me their phone number so that if I don't,
Oh, yeah.
if we're at the last minute and don't know if we have a quorum or not, I can start texting you to try to figure it out.
okay,
Because it seems like it's pretty much always up to the last minute when we figure out if we have a quorum or not.
right,
That's stressful.
I agree. And part of I think that Ellen Tillapa is working on trying to get another alternate for our board. So if anyone has, she's asked me for recommendations and I've given her some in the past and I haven't thought of any new ones. So if anyone has any ideas, they could, share that with
Okay.
Ellen. One of our members we haven't seen all through COVID. Well, actually, we did see once, Frank. But I don't think he'll be back until we're back in person.
Okay.
And so we are kind of the kind of more regular core rate presented here, but it isn't really fair to the public to have a lot of meetings where you only have a minimum quorum because it does raise the stakes for approval.
Correct. Yep.
Yep. Okay.
And
I think you have all the emails correct. Why don't you send that to everyone and just ask them to confirm it and provide their cell number or contact number if you ever need to reach them by phone or something, so that, and then they can, if they never respond, then maybe you don't have the email correct.
I'll do so. Thank you.
Sure. Boy, I'm surprised that each park's down to 3. In fact, I didn't even know if you could have meetings without a full membership of, not that they have to be present, but that you have to have a fully membered board.
Three's a quorum there as well.
Yeah, but the membership's supposed to be 5. Okay, interesting. All right, well, we will have our public hearing at the next meeting and review. Hopefully there'll be at least one more person and we'll review minutes for both meetings then. Okay,
Sounds good.
so as soon as she sends information on the elevations and things like that, on the heights that we talked about, if you'll forward that on to everybody and make sure there's no further questions.
I'll do so.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Take care,
Thanks very
everybody.
much.
Okay.
Good night.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Adjourned.